Hello Blazers, it's your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian. Hi guys, doing today? Welcome to a brand new video, and in today's video guys, we're gonna be looking at and doing a bit of a summary of all the Western companies and brands that left Russia, and basically we're gonna look at how they did it, and we're also gonna look at what their brands are called in Russia now, because one thing you gotta realize is that there are some companies that left Russia in recent months, and they didn't really replace their brand with something else. They didn't get a new subsidiary in Russia or something like that. For example, IKEA is one good example of this. They just left completely. There's no like Russian sub-brand of IKEA now or something like that. However, most of the Western companies who claim that they left Russia fully actually kinda didn't. Because they either created a whole new company just to produce their products in Russia under a different name, or they sold it to somebody to produce it under a different name. Let's check out these bootleg ass brands that are available in Russia right now and see what the hell is going on. Now real quick, by the way, before this video begins, I would just like to say that a lot of my videos these days getting demonetized, they're getting age restricted, basically because of the subject matter. And if you guys want to support me and support my channel these days, then you can actually go to the link down in the description and become a YouTube member. It's basically like YouTube's own version of Patreon, and it's a way to support me and donate to me, which is pretty easy for me to receive. So yeah, link down in the description. Now the shameless plug is over and we can continue with the video. Now the thing I want to get into first is actually fast food joints, because this is the most important. Obviously we all love fast food, you know, it's a huge thing. And of course guys, I want to start with my absolute favorite, the Russian McDonald's replacement known as Tasty Period. Yes, McDonald's fully officially pulled out of Russia this summer, and they basically sold the Russian franchise of McDonald's, the Russian subdivision of McDonald's, to a Russian businessman who's actually already owned a bunch of McDonald's restaurants in a particular region of Russia. They've all pretty much been repurposed at this point, and they have a new logo and a new name, which is called Вкусно и точка in Russian, which translates to Tasty Period. It's basically the exact same McDonald's menu with a few omissions. For example, they don't have the Big Mac, but pretty much the consensus is that most people who've tried it say that it's pretty close to the regular McDonald's, and you know, the standard of quality is there. However, you know, Tasty Period was facing some flack in the media because there's been reports of burgers with molds being sold in the Tasty Period restaurants and everything. So to be honest guys, yes, we're rehashing content. I already made like 3 videos on this goddamn Tasty Period chain, but if we're talking about a list of brands that left Russia and changed their names, of course we cannot not mention Tasty Period, you know. So let's move on. Next one is KFC. Yes, KFC as well is now officially pulling out of Russia. It took them a long time, but they finally made the decision, and KFC is pretty much gonna go through the entire same process that McDonald's has gone through. They're gonna sell the Russian restaurants to a new owner, and now the new name of the chain will be Rostiks. Now what's funny is that unlike Tasty Period, this name wasn't pulled out of someone's ass. It's actually a name that was used for KFCs before in Russia. Actually, since 1998 until 2010, all the KFCs in Russia were called Rostiks KFC.
Зачетное тесто, зачетно очень. А что вы ожидали от Ростиксов, впрочем? Вчера, сегодня, завтра я туда пойду. Даже если и не круто, я люблю эту еду.
I wasn't around for it, to be honest, because Rostiks KFC was mainly a thing that was available in St. Petersburg and Moscow when I'm a kid from, you know, kind of rural Russia, the beautiful city of Chelyabinsk, so I never got to taste the Rostiks.
35 рублей там стоит пломбир, он вкусный очень, хоть и мясо чуть-чуть. Продавцы там выбрать тебе помог, и мороженое там, и всякую круть.
But a lot of, you know, 90s kids right now and stuff are gonna be, you know, getting nostalgic for this because KFC is getting its old name back. Another fast food chain that is currently being renamed and rebranded is also Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut right now in Russia is being renamed to Pizza N or Pizza H. Or Pizzan, I guess, which in Russian kind of sounds like pizza dude, you know. But yeah, Pizza Hut, the beautiful chain that was once advertised by Mr. Gorbachev himself, now no longer exists in Russia. Now you have this bootleg ass shit, Pizza H. Russia has literally just become a bootleg country at this point. Like everything is bootleg. The McDonald's is bootleg, the Pizza Hut is bootleg. I cannot believe we reached this point, you know. Next fast food chain that I also want to mention is Starbucks. Actually, the Russian Starbucks chain was bought off by the infamous Russian Z rapper known as Timothy. I already talked about this guy on the channel before. He's basically like a meat rider of the Russian government at this point. I mean, this guy literally has a song called Vladimir Putin is my best friend, so great guy, totally. But he bought the Russian Starbucks chain and renamed it to Stars Coffee. Amazing, but like the only credit I can give him where credit's due is that Stars Coffee feels like the only one where they actually, you know, spent more than $10 on designers or something, you know. Or maybe that's just because all the good designers left Russia after the mobilization and everything, so maybe that's why their design is so bad. But yeah, now that we've done with the fast food chains, I want to actually mention the most important right here. How convenient, I'm drinking Coca-Cola right now. I want to talk about Coca-Cola and other drinks. So Coca-Cola, including all of its sub-brands like Fanta, Sprite, etc., there's like a billion million of them. The company announced that it's gonna officially leave Russia in March, but you gotta understand, Coca-Cola was produced in Russia, and the amounts of Coca-Cola in stock was still huge. So when I was talking to my friends who were, stayed back in Russia and asking them if they still have Coca-Cola, my friends were always saying, hell yeah, it's like we didn't even notice anything, we have so much Coca-Cola in stock, any size, whatever, it's fine. But now when I speak to those same people and I ask them if they have Coca-Cola in stores, they're like, well, no, not really. We have like the small, glass bottles of Coca-Cola. Sometimes you can see like the big bottles, and really that's it. And Russia is really running out of like proper Coca-Cola right now. You can still buy it, it's still pretty widely available, but it's not being produced anymore. However, what is being produced instead is a bunch of drinks under a new brand called Dobry. Okay, I'm kinda capping, this brand is actually not new, but Dobry is a company that produces juices that was actually owned by Coca-Cola. And what Coca-Cola did essentially is that they merged the Russian division of Coca-Cola with this Dobry company, and what happens right now is that the Coca-Cola products such as Fanta, Sprite, and Coca-Cola itself, they're being produced and sold in Russia right now under the name Dobry. So instead of Coca-Cola, you have Dobry Cola. Instead of Sprite, you have Dobry Lemon Lime flavor. And instead of Fanta, you have Dobry Orange. But anyway, from what people said, the Fanta replacement and the Sprite replacement actually taste pretty similar. And people say the cola tastes pretty similar, but it's not the same. Overall, I think it's a decent redesign, and Dobry is already a brand that people know. But the taste not being there, probably due to the lack of some ingredients that need to be shipped from the West or something that is now, impossible to do because of sanctions. That's an L, because obviously, you want Coca-Cola to taste like Coca-Cola. A very similar thing actually happened to Schweppes as well. Schweppes in Russia has actually been replaced as well with a brand that produced juices before that was related to the Coca-Cola company. There's this brand in Russia called Rich. They basically rebranded Schweppes under the Rich brand. So now they have like Rich Tonic, and this Rich brand also has more taste now. Like they got their own cola. So yeah, it's not very much the same as Schweppes originally, but it's in that ballpark, of tonic bitter drinks. Now as far as Pepsi goes, they also left Russia, and you gotta understand, Pepsi is a huge ass company. They include a lot of snacks in there as well, Well, Pepsi is kind of weird because also they pulled out some of their products, but they keep continuing and producing other products. Pepsi actually has stopped producing their headline products, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, and 7-Up in Russia. However, Pepsi did increase the production of certain brands that they created to sell specifically in Russia. So Pepsi has these two brands in Russia called Evervest and Ruski Dar, which means Russian gift. And basically those drinks have way more taste now. Evervest got like a Sprite, a cola, and an orange one. Ruski Dar the same, they got like a tarragon one, they got like a bunch of lemonades and everything. So what Pepsi did is that instead of creating replacements for their mainline products like Pepsi, Mountain Dew, and 7-Up, they just created more flavors for other drinks that are for the Russian market. Which is a shame, you can't really 420 Dorito, no scope Mountain Dew shit anymore in Russia, which is a shame. Now I will tell you guys about more food brands by the way, but let's switch the topic for a second because I actually want to talk about clothing brands and clothing retailers. Well, the truth is that a lot of the clothing retailers also kind of left Russia, but their stores still exist because they basically just got sold to a different company and got renamed as well. So the Levi's brand in Russia was bought by a huge sports clothing retailer, and basically the stores are still in place. However, the store names have been changed from Levi's to Jeans, J and S. I mean, what can I say? It looks completely awful, like some bootleg ass crap. Also, another company that kept selling their clothes in Russia under a different name is Reebok. Reebok stores in Russia were actually renamed into Sneaker Box. There's also a very huge Polish company called LPP, which actually has a lot of brands, which are clothing retailers that are pretty popular in Russia. So yeah, this Polish company actually sold their Russian part of the business to a Chinese company, and all of their stores got really strange renames. So for example, one of their stores is called Crop, and it was renamed in Russia to CR or Kr. Reserved in Russia was named to RE or Re, and their another brand, Mojito, was renamed to M. And no joke, on the Russian internet right now, there's information that Zara might actually be renamed to Z. Which, what can I say, is very fitting. So yeah, I mean, these brands did leave Russia, right? But their clothing is still in stock in stores in Russia under different names because the clothing comes from like China or something, which is does not sanction Russia, right? So essentially people just get the exact same stores and the company gets to stay face because they get to say that, I left Russia. Which I guess is not very commendable from a moral standpoint because, you're like leaving and you're taking a stance, but you're really not because you continue to supply the country that you claim you left. But I guess from a business standpoint, yeah, yeah, it makes complete sense, and most of the people probably will never look into what these brands actually left, so the company gets to save face and a lot of the time save their profit as well, so makes sense. What's interesting is that some companies who left Russia actually just renamed their stores to the exact same thing, but in Cyrillic, like in proper Russian, and that way it's not even considered to be part of the same brand anymore. For example, there's this company Helly Hansen, which is pretty famous for producing winter clothing like jackets and stuff. They're pretty good, and their stores in Russia have literally just been renamed to Hansen, which literally just says Hansen in Russian in the Cyrillic script. So very smart there. If anything, you can just say that the logo doesn't say Hansen, you can just say that it's called Zake. Another company that did the same is a French brand, L'Occitane. What they did as well is that they changed the names of their stores, the signs from L'Occitane said in French to the same thing but in Russian, which literally just says L'Occitane now, so genius. Another type of brand that left that I want to mention as well is actually pretty interesting as well. It's actually magazines. You know, a lot of the magazines that were published in the West, you know, that are Western brands such as Cosmopolitan, Esquire, etc., they had their own Russian versions. Vogue, for example, as well. But now a lot of these companies left Russia, and what happened is that actually these magazines will still be published but under new names. So for example, Cosmopolitan was renamed to Voice. Men's Health was renamed to Men Today. Esquire was renamed to Правила жизни, which means the rules of life. And yeah, there's plenty of others that are less popular. But once again, yeah, you can see that now even, you know, little glossy fashionable magazines are not even allowed in Russia anymore, you know, and you Russians have to Russians have to read this bootleg ass shit, you know. Imagine you're some corrupt politician's millionaire wife in Moscow that's wearing Manx and Gucci and now can't even read Vogue. That's terrible. What a terrible fate. Would never wish that on anybody. I'm kidding, fuck them, I don't care. But yeah, still pretty funny. And I guess one other thing I want to mention as well, which is pretty hilarious, is that the Russian factories of Renault, the French automobile company, is actually one of the most popular cars in Russia, to be honest, because Renault actually had factories in Russia producing Renault cars in Russia. Usually these were actually pretty low budget cars, such as the Logan, for example, which are known in like Romania and stuff like that under the name Dacia or Dacia, I don't fucking know. So yeah, they were basically produced those cars under the Renault name in Russia, and for example, Renault Logan became one of the most like popular cars in Russia, period. Well, what happened obviously is that Renault also announced that they're stopping their factories in Russia. However, they didn't stop them completely, but instead renamed the factory and renamed the cars as well that are gonna be coming off of this factory. So this is the funniest thing so far, I think, in this video probably, but the Renault factory in Moscow officially got renamed to Moskvich. Now you guys need to understand why this is funny. It's because Moskvich is actually a brand of Soviet cars. These are cars that were released in the Soviet Union that were legendary in its time or whatever, you know, everybody knows what a Moskvich is if you're from like the post-Soviet Union probably. But this brand basically went away for a while, you know, whereas Lada continued to exist, releasing new cars and everything, Moskvich completely disappeared, and now it's coming back because Renault in Russia was renamed to Moskvich, and I don't fucking know what they're gonna put out because I don't really think they can use Renault's designs or anything like that. They probably have to design their own cars, which will be an issue in Russia these days, let's be honest. It's an issue from a financial standpoint and from the standpoint of literally just not having people that are ready to do it because everybody fucking left. That's that's needed in like the automotive business. These motherfuckers are probably already working in Europe in Mercedes or something at this point, you know? So yeah, the news actually saying that we have an idea that this new Moscow factory is supposed to release electric vehicles. Well, yeah, great, you know, try to fucking design one first and then let's see, because I don't think it's that easy, is it? Unless Elon Musk goes fully Z and gives like, you know, Russia the ability to manufacture Teslas or some shit. So yeah, guys, don't you fret, the Soviet Union is fully back in operation now. We also have Moskvich cars coming off of the fucking production line at this point, and it's all going great. Yeah, man, what can I even say as an end into this video? It's sad. It's just completely sad, you know, because when I was a kid, I grew up in a provincial city in Russia, which was still a pretty large city, but we didn't really get a lot of the Western stuff that like Moscow and St. Petersburg would get, and when I was a kid, I was really jealous of that as well. However, then later, when Chelyabinsk also started getting kind of more developed and, you know, kept getting on the Moscow's and St. Petersburg's level as far as availability of, you know, international brands and everything, it felt great. It felt like, you know, the country's like opening up or whatever, you know. Feels like we're developing a little bit, you know. We're part of the world community, you know, there's new stores, new Western companies opening up their businesses in Russia, whatever. It was good, but now it's all gone, and every single brand in Russia has been replaced by a little bootleg, a copy that's actually worse than the original most of the time. And people literally just have to cope by, you know, drinking fake Coca-Cola and driving fake Renaults and eating fake McDonald's. Insane. It's absolutely insane to me, and it just makes me sad again because I was growing up and I was waiting for all this stuff to come to me, and it slowly did, and it felt great. And now Russia is completely devoid of all of it, and it's obviously the actions of Russia that led it to this point. So yeah, what can I say? It's sad, but hopefully it made for an entertaining video. Hope you guys guys did enjoy today's video. If you guys did, please make sure to slap the like on it. As well, guys, once again, if you want to support me additionally, then go over to the link down in the description, become a member of my YouTube channel, and that's a way to support me, and I appreciate everybody that does. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.